In this chapter, we're going to look at submitting your app to the App Store and how to get it accepted by Apple so that other people can actually download it and use it. Before we actually look at the upload process, I'm going to show you how to create the launch images and the icon images that you'll need before you can upload your app. So I've just Googled Apple launch image sizes here. So let's click on that, and that will give us an idea of the resolutions that we need to have our launch images in. It's also a good note here that's worth remembering that Apple considers the launch image to not so much be a splash screen or icon for your app, but simply the background image of your app. As it says here, the launch image doesn't provide you with an opportunity for artistic expression. It's solely intended to enhance the user's perception of your app as quick to launch and immediately ready for use. So bear that in mind when you're creating your launch images. Try and make them boring and representative of the look of your app. Now, I'm going to be working on the Cat Years app. I thought I'd do that to give you a bit of a memory of how it felt when you first started this course. So I'm going to make it a little bit more interesting than just having a dull launch screen, and I'm going to use this lovely cat face as my image for my launch screen for the app. So these are all the different sizes that we're going to need to create if we want to support both iPad and iPhone. I'm going to create all of these and show you how I do it, even though I'm actually going to be only submitting for iPhone. So I've downloaded my cat image here. I'm going to open it up in Photoshop. Now, if you don't have Photoshop, don't worry. You don't need Photoshop, but you do need some kind of image processing app. The best free tool I know of is GIMP on the Mac. That's also available for Windows, and that's probably the closest that you'll get to a Photoshop experience for free. And it will definitely allow you to do everything that I'm going to do here. So let's switch back over to Chrome, and I always start with the biggest. So let's start with iPad landscape. So that's 2048 by 1536. So I'm going to go to image and canvas size, change to pixels. So 2048 by 1536. I'm making that slightly smaller, but that's okay because there's a gap at the bottom. So I'm going to choose to put my picture at the top, and then I won't lose any of my cat's ears there. Now I'm just going to move my cat's face down a little bit. So I'm going to select the magic wand tool, and then I'm just going to select everything outside the cat. I'm doing shift and click here. So I've selected everything outside the cat. I then want to invert that selection to just select the cat, and then I'm just going to drag him into the middle of the image there. I'm not going to be too fussy about this. Of course, this course isn't on graphic design. If it was, this would look a lot better, but it's just to give you an idea of how this works. So that will work fine for our iPad landscape. So I'm going to go File, Save for Web. We definitely want to save it as a PNG. Obviously, we want to make sure that the image size is correct. And then let's just hit Save. And you definitely want to name your files appropriately. So I'm going to go for cat landscape iPad and 2x because this is the high resolution version. Okay, so now it's going to be a little bit dull. Let's just switch back. So we might as well do these two at once. So if we resize it to 1024 by 768, so just image size 1024 by 768. There we go. So it's the same dimensions, just smaller. And then we'll do the same thing. So save for web, check the resolution. That's great. So we'll save that. And I want this time just cat landscape iPad. Great. If you're getting the idea, then do feel free to skip ahead. But I'm going to go through the whole process so you've got everything here. So let's switch back to the high resolution version. So I'm just going to edit, going to step backwards so that we've got the high res version. And now for portrait, we want 1536 by 2048. So what I normally do is resize to 1536. So image size. So just change the width to 1536 and constrain proportions. So the height is resized automatically. And then just change the height. The height now needs to be 2048. So now we do canvas size, and we'll stick to pixels. So we'll leave the height the same. Sorry, the width the same, and the height is now 2048. And I'll leave the cat in the middle. So now you can see it's portrait shaped. And now we're in a position to save for web. Check the image dimensions. Great. That all looks good. And this is portrait iPad 2X. And as before, let's switch back over and just check 768 by 1024. So let's resize 768 by 1024. And then file save for web 768 by 1024. We could probably actually just resize it there. That would work as well. So this is just portrait iPad. Great, and then I'll just step backwards to bring it back. So that's our iPad. Now we've got, let's do iPhone 5 next. So we want 640 by 1136. Notice this is only portrait. You don't need a landscape version for that. So only portrait, 640 by 1136. So let's do as before. Change the image size to 640. Or the image width to 640, and then change the canvas size. We'll leave it at 640, and what was it? It was 1136. And we'll leave the cat in the middle. There we go. And then we can save for web with those dimensions. And this is cat iPhone 5. Great. And then we've got the same width here but a different height, so let's just reduce the height to 960. Canvas size. Just change that to 960. Everything in the middle. There we go. Save for web, 640 by 960. So save, and this is cat iPhone 2X. And then the lower res version is 320 by 480. Let's shortcut that and just go straight to save for web. Change that to 320, and that will be 480. Already, and then save. And so that's just going to be cat iPhone. Okay, so now we've got all of our different size splash screens. By the time you're watching this video, it might well be that you need to do them for the iPhone 6 as well. And so you'll just have to do the same process, but for whatever resolution that turns out to be. So now we switch back over to our Cat Years app. And if we look in the main info area, you can see we've got the app icon source is listed as app icon, and launch images source is launch image. Now that's because you can either set them custom to link to a certain image, or usually more straightforwardly, you can just click on images, XC assets there, and then here we've got launch image and app icon. Because this is only for iOS 7, we only need to worry about these two sizes. So let's bring back all my saves, and the ones I need are the iPhone 2X, which goes there, and then the iPhone 5, which goes there. And of course, If you're developing for iPad as well, then you have all those options, and if you're allowing older phones, then you might have to do those as well. So you don't need to do all of these, you just need to do the devices that you're targeting. Great, so that's those. Now let's quickly do the app icon. So we'll switch back over to Chrome. You can see here on the same page we've got a link to app icon. So you can have a little read of that for some style guide advice from Apple. I'm more focused on just getting one at the moment. Now, the biggest icon you're going to need is 1024 by 1024 for the App Store. So I normally start with that. So let's go back over to Photoshop. So remember, we want 1024 by 1024. So I'll just center my image quickly again first. Select inverse, and then just drag that into the middle. Great. And then what I'll do is I'll make it a square, because we always need a square file for our images. So canvas size, I always work in pixels, so 1979 is the biggest, so 1979 for that one too. Keep it centered. Okay, great. I think that's going to make quite a nice icon. So now let's just resize to 1024 by 1024. Now all of these are going to be squares, so we just need to save for web, and we can just change the image size every time. So this is going to be icon for the App Store. Let's flip back over and see what else we need. So we need a standard resolution App Store as well. So this is just going to be 512. I probably should have called the other one 2x. I'll get around that by just calling that one 1x. And then here we go. So we need 120 by 120, 60 by 60. Doesn't really matter the order we do these in this time. So let's do the 120 first. I think I'm going to change these to just be icon 120. So then I can keep track of which one's which. Oops. And then icon 60. Again, if you get the idea of what I'm doing, feel free to move on in the video. It's not the most exciting part. 152 and 76. So 152. And again, 76. There we go. So now let's switch back over and click on app icon there. So we've got the 60 point already. Now the one we need to drag into there is actually the 120, because it needs the 2x version. And then we've also got spotlight ones to get. I think you've seen enough of me resizing images now, so I'm just going to leave you to get those. So we've got the 40 point and 29 point. You can just resize those in exactly the same way. Okay, so that's a quick tutorial on how to create app icons and launch images for your iPhone and iPad apps.